All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start our meeting. And this meeting is the City Council Clxc Community Redevelopment Agency, successor agency, Clxc Financing Authority regular meeting, December 17th, 2013. And I will defer to our city attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council met in closed session and discussed items A and B. Direction was given. No reportable action was taken.
Thank you very much. Now we'll call to order in attendance. Looking to right and left, we are fully attended here. We definitely are, all our council members. So now we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, you ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And if you do have a desire to say the Pledge of Allegiance, just email me and I'll give you that. Okay, approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
Yes, so moved.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem John Moreno makes the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Hurtado. Second.
Mayor?
Please vote.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
we would
Did I-
like to pull an item,
Okay, and that item would be, sir?
number 6.
Number 6.
We'll be bringing that back.
Mr. Mayor, I'll rescind my motion, make a new motion,
Yeah.
removing items, business item number 6.
Okay, that motion. And second by Councilwoman Hurtado, pulling number 6. Okay, please vote on that. All right, thank you, Council. That is unanimous. So the approval of the agenda. Now we go to announcements, public appearance, or public comments. Please bring your white slips if you are planning to talk. I don't have any at this time, but please let me read this. Note not to exceed 3 minutes. This is the time for the public to address the council on any item not appearing on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. The mayor will recognize you, and when you will come to the microphone, please state your name and place of residence for the record. While members of the public are encouraged to participate, it is unlawful to disturb or delay the council meeting with personal or slanderous remarks. If the item you wish to comment on is a closed session or consent item, please comment now. If the item you wish to comment on is on the public portion of the agenda, we will take your comment when we get to the item on the agenda. Please direct your questions and comments to the City Council, and we have one, and that would be Mr. Sergio Romero. Will you please come forward, sir?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Sergio Romero, and my address is 721 Rockwood Avenue, here in Calexico. Okay. So, good evening, members of the City Council, City Manager, Attorney, Clerk, and invites, citizens. I will first like to introduce myself again. I'm Sergio Romero, and I'm representing a student body at IVC. We are what we like to call ourselves deviants. We are trying to improve our city by working with city officials and just taking hands-on with social issues. We've been talking with representatives of Boys and Girls Club and from Brawley and here in El Centro, and we'd like to start that here, and that's why I'm here representing this group. We're in the process of making this organization and club happen here in Calexico, but we need to get signatures and we need to get just response from the general public, from the citizens here, and get approval from, obviously, the city officials and as much support as we can get. The reason why we're trying to do this is we want to provide a safe place to learn and grow for our youth, relationships with professionals and mentors. This will be vital for our city to grow for the next generation. by providing life-enhancing programs and character development experiences. And according to a Harris poll, it's a long-running and well-respected barometer in public opinion. 3 out of 10 students won't graduate in time. And statistically speaking, from 3 to 7 o'clock, most of the crime occurs in cities. And if we implement clubs like this that will encourage goals in life for the youth, we're going to minimize crime and just help them grow as individuals. So I will be in the back at the end of the meeting collecting phone numbers, names, and just trying to get this project going. Thank you.
It's good to meet you. I don't believe I've ever met you. Have you ever been here before, Sergio?
Yes, I'm an intern
Up front?
for Gavi.
Oh, excellent. Okay, we're not supposed to engage in a conversation, but real quick, will you please take my card? And I'd like your phone number, because I think that's an excellent idea, and I think the council would agree to that, or I would hope so. Okay, may I get your number a little later? Yes. On the back of that? Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Sergio Romero, is there anybody else from the public? I don't have any more slips. Okay, that's a first. All right, well then we will close the public appearance and public comments. Now we go to the consent agenda, which usually should be general comments by the council. Okay, I'd like to start to the left. Councilman Castro, how are you today? Would you like to, you have any general comments?
Well, yes, I would like to give this information. I received this notice of intention to circulate recall petition. So I've been served for the 3rd time on this year for the recall. The first circulate petition that I received, Benjamin Horton, he lied on those 2 petitions. And I believe this is the 3rd one. I hope everything is going to be fine, but what I understand and what I see here, they don't know what they're doing. That's all, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman Kim.
Councilman Castro,
oh my
sir.
Lord, I'm so sorry,
Mayor.
sir. I'm sorry. Castro. Councilwoman Hurtado.
Thank you. Just wanted to congratulate the Desert Valley Bandits, the Clxc Chamber of Commerce, and the other group that helped us. I don't remember their name. Joe Jack? Los Vigilantes, for the wonderful parade that we had on Saturday that was really nice. It was a happy, healthy Christmas theme. Speaking of healthy, gentlemen, especially yourself that you've been here with me for the last 3 years or so, we've been trying to keep our finances very healthy. And I'm going to bring this up right now because who knows if we're going to end this meeting early or not. But I was looking at our overtime report, and I'm highly concerned. And the overtime report looks like we've got some departments that have already reached their limits on what their budgets are for overtime. And I know that the whole city has worked really hard, especially Mr. Rodriguez, to tighten the belt and to keep us afloat. And at this point, I know that it was about maybe 3 months ago when I first saw the numbers in certain departments. And there were certain questions asked, and there were certain requests being made, not only by the council, but by administrative staff, which was asking for there be plans on how the overtime can be reduced. And in my opinion, it doesn't look like that overtime has been even regarded in wanting to change anything. And so I think that we need to be very concerned about that. We have more than half a whole year, more fiscal year to go. We have already, again, reached that tippy top of where we should be in certain departments. Now, and it looks like it's going to be at least $500,000 more. For $500,000, this city can pay a lot. And it shouldn't be going to overtime that's not being managed. And I'm not going to ask this director to come and stand there and answer questions because I've asked that already. And there wasn't very satisfactory responses to that. I believe that at this time it would be Mr. Rodriguez that we make responsible to ensure that his staff is respecting our budget and that the goals of this city to maintain themselves above water be all-inclusive by all departments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Hurtado, for your comments. Moving on, Councilman Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Hodge. You didn't call me Castro.
Yeah.
First things, I believe this is the last our regular meeting before the Christmas time. So I would like to say to public, to Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And I'll do my best job for the next years. And also, I received the same kind of the recognition. 30 people signed it. They are appreciating me to do my job for the community. I'm glad that I stepped to their toes. And this time has been they changed the player, which is Benjamin Holton. What I heard, he's running for the campaign for the Mr. Renison, and he's representing the Grand Plaza. And if that's true, I think Mr. Renison has panicked because I announced I'm running for the supervisor. Well,
I'm
it's
sorry,
a political reason.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I'm running for the supervisor. So if the reason politically, that's dirty politics. Anyways, I'm doing my job. I'm glad I only make the 30 people only that mad. So a lot of people happy. I had what's called my parade. A lot of people, they respond to me. And even though when I go to the street, the people stop the car to thanking me to what I'm doing. I'm keep representing my community. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you, Councilman Kim. Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Pro Tem John Moreno.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'd like to personally wish my fellow council members, Mr. Kim, Mr. Hodge, Mr. Hurtado, and Mr. Castro, a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And although we haven't agreed on everything, which is an understatement, I believe that we can learn to work together in a more cohesive manner. And I believe that learning the process by which things are governed in the city of Calexico and this municipality, we can only get better. There may have been some obstacles that Mr. Kim and Mr. Castro are facing at the time, but I believe that doesn't take away from their character as individuals, as family members. And in this time of goodwill, I hope for the best, for health, for our city staff, for our legal counsel, for our city manager, department heads, and employees throughout the city. It's been a tough year. I feel we can only go one direction, and that is up. And I will do everything in my power to serve on the city council in the best interest of the 40,000 residents that live and call Calexico home and that are proud to call Calexico home. It was evident in the parade too. I enjoyed seeing many people out there. Families were out there. We had perfect attendance from City Council and from other members of other agencies where we have elected officials. So I thank the Chamber of Commerce, the Desert Valley Bandits, the Los Vigilantes, the city staff that helped put the parade on. I'd like to have seen our city manager in one of the staging areas. He was off to one of the sites. I'd rather see him.
It was the same place as last year.
I'd rather see him, right there in the mix of things. So hopefully for the next parade, Mr. City Manager,
You get a float.
well, maybe we'll put you on a float with Mr. Kim can share
Mr.
a
Kim
spot
had a
with-
large,
with a large
there's enough
float.
room there for you.
Yeah. And let's all work together, guys.
Okay.
Let's not take things personal, and let's all be businesslike and respectful. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem John Moreno. A few items that deal with business concerning ICTC, but that impact and relate us, if you'll permit me to do part of my job in reporting. Number two, Clxc, one of the areas from the Executive Director's report of ICTC is Clxc Intermodule Transportation Center. The kickoff meeting was held on November 5th, 2013. An outreach meeting with all transit providers in the city of Clxc was scheduled, and that was done already to Tuesday, December 17th. The feasibility study scope of work will also include stakeholder meetings. Public workshops are coming up, stakeholder surveys, site selection analysis, and financial and operational feasibility reports. The other area that concerns us, and I'd like to see us get more involved and have a plan or implement a plan if we have it, is pedestrian bicycle transportation access study. Study will focus on the California-Mexican border region, specifically in its 6 ports of entry. ICTC is working with Caltrans and Sandag to complete a request for proposal for the study. The RFP was advertised on Friday, November 18th. A non-mandatory pre-bid meeting was held ICTC offices on December 6th. And another area of good news is that we approved ICTC for Sunday services in busing. And that will start in January 5th. It will begin at 7:30 in the morning. There'll be 2 trips in the morning and 2 trips in the afternoon. And that's good to hear, to accommodate and service more people on Sunday. The other area I'd like to also, I need to give an apology to the Desert Valley Bandits. I was misinformed, and I said the other service community's name for thanking them. But thank you, Desert Valley Bandits. My apologies for making that mistake. And it was an honor, and it was very pleasing to be in the parade. And like Mayor Pro Tem said, it was good that all of us were involved. I think that was good. And I'm proud of our parade. We had a lot of entries, and it was a good parade, so thank you. And also from me, I want to wish each and every one of you a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, but most importantly, good health. And to piggyback, or just to reiterate what Mayor Pro Tem has said, I think it is extremely important. Regardless of our differences, and we're only human and we have differences, I have the best intentions and a deep desire to see us get along and to move forward, because I think there are many potential positive things for Calexico. We already have on the map the Grand Plaza, and there are other areas. So we have a lot to look forward to, and we need to work professionally together to move forward. So thank you, and Merry Christmas to each and every one of you. Thank you. Okay, that concludes our general comments, except for our city manager, Mr. Rodriguez.
Just a couple of items. You'll see in your packet today a request for approval of a resolution. There are some monies available at the state for applying for affordable housing monies that would then go into improving parks. And I know we always talk about parks. And we've been fortunate to be able to provide and assist in providing, through different developers, affordable housing, whether it be at the low or the very low level. And because of that, these new monies will be, we were eligible for these monies, and we're estimating it could be somewhere between $250,000 to $300,000. So we're going to be applying for that. There's a big need for affordable housing, of course, and these monies are to go into areas and parks that are next to the most unfortunate in our community. So that's great news. We haven't seen this money available in the past, so we're going to be applying for that, and hopefully we'll be awarded those monies so we can assist.
So if I understand, is this the first time?
No, I have not seen it, it doesn't mean it's the first time, but I have not seen it in a long, long time.
Okay.
So, the second item is Las Palmas, the project, which is on Cole and Bowker. I met with the owner today, and he gave me a synopsis of where they're headed, and they will be starting on that project early next year. And their price range is going to be approximately $180,000. And this is a unique project because this is a gated community, and it has modular homes, which, for all intents and purposes, look like stick-built. They're modular homes, and they're on leased property, which is a very interesting concept. And the leased property is a 99-year lease. So for all intents and purposes, you can actually go and get a mortgage on it, even though you're leasing the property. So it's a very unique concept, a concept I have not seen, and we're wishing him all the luck in the world, and he's very excited about moving forward, and he believes it's going to be a hit in Calexico. They have a clubhouse, they have all kinds of other amenities for people buying within that community. So we're going to assist them in hopefully moving along and moving the housing market, which we have seen, really the housing market has not moved with new construction for a long, long time. So we're very, very happy to see that movement. You've all commented on the Christmas parade. Needless to say, it was successful. We had a good turnout, and we didn't have any major issues. So that's always good that when we don't have any major issues. And finally, like everybody, I hope that everybody has a good Christmas and safe holidays, especially if you're traveling. I know that I'll be traveling, so I hope everybody is safe. And just to let you know that Thursday is my last day, so if you want to complain to me by Thursday. After that, Mr. Nick Servine, our Public Works Director, will be in charge till
We can complain to
Monday
him.
on the 6th, so you can complain to him. And just forget about my cell number, okay? It won't work. No, it'll work if you need to get a hold of me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Okay, now it is time for consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve items number 1, 2, 3, and 4 as stated here?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second? Okay. All right then. I don't hear discussion, so may we just please vote? Okay. Wow. That's unanimous, and nothing was pulled. Okay, let's move on to business items. Do we have, is this pertaining to a particular item? This is item number 7. Okay, number 5, first under business items, adoption of an urgency ordinance of the City Council of the City of Calexico, California, establishing a temporary moratorium on and prohibiting, the issuance of permits or other entitlements for pedicabs, and or drivers' permits to operate pedicabs pending the review and possible implementation of applicable regulations and or amendment of the city's existing regulations to become effective immediately, and 2, an identical regular non-urgency ordinance which is to take effect 30 days after adoption. City Manager, would you like to elaborate or give us some background on this?
Myself and the City Attorney worked on this, so I'll let the City Attorney take the lead on this.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor and Council, the items that you have before you they're essentially the same ordinance. One is just set up as an urgency ordinance, and if adopted, it would take effect today. The second one is just a backup one, a typical ordinance that requires 2 readings, but they both do the same thing. The ordinance.
One vote on this?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the ordinances will do the following. They will set a 1-year moratorium on the issuance of any permits or applicable entitlements to the operation of pedicabs in the city. It will apply the moratorium to pending, so any applications the city has received and not acted upon as well as the future ones that are submitted during that 1 year. And it will essentially direct staff to study the potential impacts of having pedicabs in the city so that they can bring back to this council some applicable regulations. So the background on this is that the city has received just recently an application for pedicab operations, and the city's municipal code does not have any specific regulations on pedicabs. Pedicabs have a distinct definition in the vehicle code, so they do not fall under the taxi cab regulations, which seems to be the most applicable, similar type of use, but obviously one's a motor vehicle and one's a bicycle. So the city is aware that cities that do allow pedicab operations usually have some sort of a regulatory scheme in their municipal code that sets out certain requirements, probably similar to what you have for taxi cabs, being insurance requirements, driver's license requirements, just those types of typical things. So when
Protect us and the public.
Right. So when staff became aware that there was a current application and that the municipal code didn't, the current regulations in the municipal code didn't apply to pedicabs, staff felt it was prudent because of the public safety issues involved of a company or companies transporting members of the public. There's lots of issues that could arise from this that could affect public health and safety. The city has the ability to regulate pedicabs under the vehicle code. The vehicle code says it's something cities can regulate. And further, the California Constitution gives cities these police powers to regulate public health and safety issues in the city. So being with those powers, staff felt it was prudent to submit this moratorium ordinance to the council so that it would essentially just put a freeze in place so that no business licenses or any other kinds of entitlements would be issued to pedicab companies until the city can get in place some applicable regulations. It can essentially study this and determine how it wants to deal with this issue. So, as I mentioned, there's 2 ordinances. They do the same thing, but one's an urgency ordinance. Staff's recommendation is that council approve both of these ordinances, simply just to put a freeze in place and give staff time to study this and figure out how the city wants to have it operated instead of just, with these ordinances not in place, having, pedicab companies start operating without regulatory measures in the city's hands.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let's make a motion, and if we want discussion, we can move forward. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And is there a second with discussion?
Second for discussion.
Okay. Any council members would like to ask some questions or any discussion points?
I believe this is only for the ordinance for the pedicabs.
Absolutely, and we're not talking about motor-propelled bicycles. Those would probably be covered under your taxi cab ordinance.
Human labor, human effort.
Right.
Feet.
Yes, the definition in the vehicle code.
Yeah. Okay. That was my question.
Wow. I think it's 110
So
degrees.
this moratorium is effect only for the pedicabs.
Yes,
Okay. Anyone else?
like the ones you see in San Diego where
Yes.
there's, a
Downtown.
bicycle and
Yeah.
behind it some type of a carriage.
Anyone else for discussion?
Has anybody put in for rickshaws?
Rickshaws? I don't know what those are.
You don't know what a rickshaw is?
I do.
Okay, never mind. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, you know what a rickshaw
Mayor.
is?
Discussion, right? Right now.
Yes, I would like to hear, who asked for this item to put in the agenda, City Manager?
Actually, when they came to us and we started looking at how we were going to regulate them, we found out that we had no way of regulating them because we didn't have them on there. And with our discussions with legal, if we have nothing, we can't prohibit a business license. We have to issue a business license unless we have something to regulate them by. So it seemed that it would be appropriate to go ahead and establish those guidelines, whatever the guidelines are going to be, before we issue a business license, because otherwise we run the liability. If we just allow them to go out on the street and there's an accident or whatever, we're going to get sued because we have no regulations on how to govern them. So it seemed prudent that we stop the clock, find out what other cities that have pedicabs are doing, such as San Diego and some other cities, and then establish what these guidelines are going to be before we start issuing business licenses.
So what I understand, you put this item in the agenda.
Yeah,
You-
staff reviewed it.
Staff.
Staff reviewed it and found it was prudent to go ahead and establish some guidelines.
Okay, and in the future, we are going to have a presentation related to this?
Yes, we're going to
issue?
bring back
Because-
our proposed guidelines and present them to you, so for adoption, before we issue any business licenses. So yes, we will come back to you and provide, this is what we believe should be the guidelines in governing these pedicabs.
Okay, that's it.
I have some comments. Well, first of all, I like the idea, but I think it's important that we be prudent and we set regulations. I like the idea in the sense of a different kind of transportation, but I also like it because, what do I see, the cultural aspect or the aesthetics of it. I think it seems neat in San Diego. It could be neat and attractive in Calexico. Just a question, is it absolutely necessary for a one-year moratorium?
No, that was just, we picked a large time frame in case we needed it, but we're going to be working on this right away, so if we can, obviously, we hope to do something before summer. I don't know if too many people are going to want to take pedicabs during the summer at 120
Oh,
degrees, but
yeah.
we are certainly going to move this as fast as we can, because we
Okay.
agree with you. We think this is something different, that if we can do it, it'll set us apart.
Yes, but then in the last paragraph, am I reading this right? Number 2, establish, the ordinance will do the following, and number 1 was to set a one-year moratorium, and number 2, establish that the operation of pedicabs constitute am I reading that? A nuisance?
That's simply during the moratorium, so that if
Oh,
someone goes
okay.
out and operates, we have the ability to
Stop.
cite them.
You are
to
a
stop
nuisance.
it, right.
Okay.
But obviously,
Seemed
if
biased that
council
would-
puts regulations in place, this moratorium would go away.
And they may not be a nuisance.
Hopefully
They
not.
wouldn't be
Okay.
a nuisance
All
at
right.
that point,
Okay.
if council
I just
allowed them.
Needed clarification on that. Okay, we've had discussion. There was a motion, there was a second.
There was the first and the second, and that was for the urgency ordinance, and I need to read the title. We need
Go
to
right
take two
ahead.
motions. Okay. It's an urgency ordinance of the City Council of Calexico, California, establishing a temporary moratorium on and prohibiting the issuance of permits or other entitlements for pedicabs and/or driver permits to operate pedicabs pending the review and possible implementation of applicable regulations and/or amendment to the city's existing regulations to become effective immediately.
So
Thank
moved.
you, Mayor.
Okay. And second, once again?
Second.
Councilwoman Hurtado. So, City Attorney, we are voting on both, is that correct?
Just the urgency one,
Just
and
the
then we'll do
urgency?
a separate
I
one for the
see.
regular one.
Okay, very good. That's clarified. All right, please vote. On the urgency one.
So we didn't have any motion for that.
No, we do.
Yeah, I just
We
moved
just made
on
it,
the-
sir.
on the
On the
first-
urgency one.
on the urgency
I was a
one.
little
Number
confused,
one.
too. We have two different.
Okay, so it's the second for the discussion, that's supposed to be,
No,
no,
that was the one.
Mr. Castro was the second for the discussion.
And we
So we have to
discussed.
have- We have to have it compromising the seconds.
Eh,
I think there was a motion and a second, and there was discussion. After I read the title,
We did it again.
yes, Mayor Pro Tem made the motion again. It was the same motion.
It's the same motion, so we
Yes.
need to respect the second by
The second that
Councilman Castro.
Councilman Castro
All right,
made
so be,
before.
so do it. Thank you, Councilman Kim.
But Mr. Castro, second for discussion.
And we discussed, but do you have
So
more
we
discussion,
discussed.
sir?
So you have to,
Yeah, I understand, but I thought we've discussed, but do you have more discussion, sir?
Well, again, it's the same
Yeah,
discussion that I
yeah,
did.
right. Okay.
Yeah. So
So let's move forward and vote?
Yes.
We
Yeah,
okay?
I think so.
Okay, all right. I voted. Castro and Kim, here we go.
slow down. No?
Castro, okay. All right, if I read that correctly, it's 4-1. It passes. Will you please read the second one, City Attorney?
Yes, the second ordinance is the regular ordinance. It's an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Calexico, California, establishing a temporary moratorium on and prohibiting the issuance of permits or other entitlements for pedicabs and/or drivers' permits to operate pedicabs pending the review and/or possible implementation of applicable regulations and/or amendment of the city's existing regulations.
Okay,
So moved on that one?
all right. All right, once again, motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Moreno and second by Councilwoman Hurtado. Please vote. That one is unanimous. Okay, we move on to item number 6.
That item was pulled off the agenda.
That is correct, thank you. We skip and move to item number 7. Conduct second reading and adopt ordinance number 2013 by title only. Waive full reading approving zoning ordinance text amendment number 2013-01, which includes the various text and definition updates to Chapter 17 of the zoning code. We've looked at this before.
Mr. Mayor,
City
you've
Manager?
looked at it before, and this, a lot of it is generated by the state.
Thank you.
With their changes on definitions and moving forward with establishing a broader area to be able to address the homeless population. You looked at it before. This is a second reading and adoption.
Yes, sir. All right, before we vote, we do have a public member that would like to come forward. Mr. Ortega.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted a clarification that if the ordinance is adopted, that is, will it be then take effect from the adoption forward and not be retroactive?
City Attorney or City Manager? Or do we, let me learn here. Should we answer that? That's a question? We should. Thank you.
Sure. Is it 30 days? Is it 30
Oh, well,
days?
it doesn't take effect until 30 days. I'm not aware if the ordinance has a retroactive provision. I didn't draft this ordinance, so, but it doesn't take effect until 30 days after tonight. if
Tonight's
council
vote.
adopts it.
But it's not retroactive.
She's not aware.
I don't know. If it's in the ordinance, it's in there. It's
No, I just
quite a
wanted to
large
clarify.
ordinance, so.
Essentially, I need a clarification that basically it's just for the record, if you will.
It's smart.
I can't make that clarification. I don't know if Nick can.
You got them looking.
Mr. Servino, I don't think so, but I don't want to say anything on the record unless I'm absolutely sure. Do you know if it is retro?
I don't think it is. I know that specifically for like state this type of action we usually
Well,
don't.
we can provide you with the ordinance, and it
But,
should be in the ordinance if it's retro. We can provide you with a copy of the ordinance.
Yeah, I just wanted to, because it addresses like the existing shelters, they should also have a certain number of amenities, if you will, especially like a waiting room or waiting area, those type of things.
Oh,
And for example, we have 4 units of transitional shelter, which all our administrative is handled from the office of Neighborhood House. So those 4 transitional shelters don't have a waiting area per se on the site, but we use the administration office, which is a block away, for the waiting area and those type of things. And it talks about that. And I guess what I'm saying is that if it becomes retroactive, then we're in a situation having to build waiting areas and things
Right.
like that. That's the reason for
so
the
there is an
request.
impact. There is an importance here to your
Yeah.
concern. I see. So we'll need to find out, and we will right away, and let Mr. Ortega know.
Certainly,
Ortega?
we can provide them a copy of the ordinance, and then the ordinance, it would be if it's retroactive. When you go back, it's talking about it becoming effective 30 days after. I don't recall anything being retroactive, but we'd be happy to give you a copy of the ordinance, and we can check it out also.
But
I guess what I'm saying, if it is retroactive, I really would like to.
Yeah, normally, they would not do a retroactive and put you where
Cabby.
you would not qualify, or you'd be in violation of anything.
Yeah,
So
right.
I doubt, I haven't seen anything in here that would make
Okay.
it retro.
All right, thank you, just needed to clarify that.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So should we?
Councilman Kim?
Can we add in here for the not impacting the existing building?
It's a good question.
I don't know if that.
City Manager, Nick Servine?
This would apply for any new buildings being proposed, built, remodeled to this degree. So existing buildings, existing uses are not going to be applicable.
But in case of, modelizing, new remodeling, then they're going to be impacted?
If you do a major remodel, then yes, you would fall under this ordinance.
I see. But the existing building is not going to be impacting?
The existing will not be impacted,
Not unless they do a major.
or remodeling. So Mr. Ortega, in a way, does not have to worry.
Yeah, I'm being told, Terry, do you have a clear answer talking to our consultant on whether or not this is retro or not? It's not retro. Okay.
Okay, there's your
So
answer,
should
and
we
I
put
don't
on
believe you
anything
need to
on the
worry, Mr.
resolution?
Ortega.
Normally, if it's retro, they put it in.
We can't change
Okay.
anything about the ordinance, or
So-
council has to start over again.
Yeah, I would not worry about that, because if it's not in the ordinance, normally if it would be retro, we would put it right
It
in the
would be in there.
ordinance.
Okay. All right, then.
Motion to approve?
Is there a second? Same people?
Every time I say second,
Yeah,
there's gonna be a discussion,
okay.
so I know why everybody.
Okay, second by Councilwoman Hurtado. Please vote.
Just never know.
Okay, moving on to item number 8.
She didn't have to read the title?
Second
No,
reading.
we read the
Oh, you
title
did
the
it.
first time. You don't have to do that at the second reading.
Okay.
Thank you.
Number 8, pertaining to, well, you know, we have 3 items here pertaining to Public Works and Nick Servine. We're going to
Correct.
vote individually.
Correct.
But would it be okay to
Okay, you want me
read
to
all
just
3
go
and
through
then he
them?
can address them?
If you will recall, during our briefings, we had briefings prior to this meeting, and we
Correct.
pulled them off of the last agenda
Right.
simply because we did not have the appropriate resolutions along with the items. If you will recall, this addresses a wastewater plant and the water plant. 2 of the items address the digester. I don't want to get into that whole conversation.
Right,
If you
yeah.
recall of some of the improvements that we have to do to the digesters, given that we move forward to clean them up, and because they were so old, and because the acidity in the waste product that goes through there, some of the cement was actually falling apart, so we had to do some additional work. And the urgency on this is that we have 2 digesters. One of them is operational, one of them we've taken offline in order to do the fixing. And if that one that's online were to go haywire, we really don't have anything to take care of that process coming into the system. So it's very important that we move forward and rehab this so we can put it back online.
Strategically, what's the best approach here? Read all 3 and he can discuss all 3, or do we just take, I know we're going to vote individually, right?
Yes.
So I should just read each one?
We can go through them individually, but the first 2 are in reference to the digester, if I remember correctly, and then the second one is a motor that is out in our system in the water plant that actually moves the water into the system, if I remember correctly, and regulates the water that goes out into the system. And if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Public Works Director, that the parts to those equipment are no longer available. So we're actually replacing the whole piece of equipment because our plant is so old. So we're going to actually put it in a process where we're replacing them every year.
Well, we'll see if we need for you to explain then. Let me just take it one at a time. So item number 8 is adopt a resolution finding an emergency exists at the wastewater treatment plant sludge mixer and authorizing purchasing related to 1 draft tube to complete necessary repairs. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Okay. If there's no discussion, please vote.
I have some discussion.
Okay. All right. Discussion by Councilman Kim.
Yeah, as these were why I can ask all 3 of them, this one for the repair, not for the extra, the emergency parts. That's when we have to use it, right, after we get it.
Why are you going over there?
It's an old plant, and yes, the components are old. And when we, like Oscar was saying, when we got in there to do the improvements, the repairs, we noticed that this draft tube, because we had to remove it, it was extra weight on top, and we didn't want the roof to collapse. It was that bad. Anyway, when we removed it, we realized, oh, this thing is almost gone. So it's almost ineffective.
Okay, this one's like, when we receive it, we're gonna use it as a replace of the
Yes.
motors and the parts?
Yes.
Because what I heard, the city, some past practice, some motor or some part, they bought it and they never replaced it. So that kind of a case I heard. So
Yeah.
I want to know, make sure this one is buying, we're going to use it, or we're going to buy for the, in case of emergency part. So this is going to be going to use it.
That's right, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Thank you, Councilman Kim. Anyone else for further discussion? All right, ladies and council members, please vote on this one. What we have just remaining is Councilwoman Hurtado. There was a first and second. Oops. Oops. There we go. That one passes. All right, let's move on to item number 9. Relatively, it's interrelated. Public Works Department, adopt a resolution finding an emergency exists at the wastewater treatment plant sludge mixer and authorizing the purchase of one roof-mounted draft tube sludge mixer to complete necessary repairs.
So moved.
So move. Second. Okay. Same cast of characters. All right.
Thank you,
I'm sorry. Is there any, let's please vote on this. That was theatrical terminology, so. Okay, moving on to item number 10. Referring to Public Works once again, adopt a resolution finding an emergency exists at the water treatment plant and authorizing the purchase of one variable frequency drive from ET and MS Incorporated to complete necessary repairs.
So moved.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem, second by Councilwoman Hurtado. If there's no discussion, please vote. All right, it passes unanimously. That was item number 10. Moving on to item number 11. Okay, and I believe this was what Councilwoman Hurtado was referring to, and it is a concern. Requested action, acknowledgement of overtime justification report for the month of November 2013. Is there any discussion on this?
Just for information, I believe if I remember correctly, we are starting meetings tomorrow with department heads to go over at least the first quarter of the year, if not as current as finance has, and I think they have it pretty current through 5 months. So we're going to start meeting with the department heads to go over their budgets to see where they're at. If you will recall, we have a requirement to come back probably in February and give you a report on the first 6 months of the year. And if, in fact, there are some issues there, then we have to give you some options. So we're going to be addressing it with department heads starting tomorrow to find out where we're at, and if there's corrections that need to be made, what those corrections, and how we profess to take care of if, in fact, we are either behind on our revenues or ahead on our expenditures. We will address that and bring back options to you at our 6-month report.
Okay. Discussion among the council members?
Yes, I have a question. On the police safety overtime budget, how come someone erased the numbers and put $452,000 with a pen?
Can you refer to a page number, sir? Is there a page
There's
number?
no page number, but it's police safety overtime budget.
Let's see how that looks.
Summary of overtime.
I believe
Fiscal
what
year 2013.
I believe what that was.
There's no number, right?
Yeah. Trying to see if I could see through it. I believe what happened was that the number that originally we had in there was, I believe, 450, and the exact number is 452. So that's why it was corrected. That's why you see where it was erased and 452 was put in there.
So someone committed a mistake, or?
No, well, yeah.
Is that the right number? Or
That is the correct number, yes.
the correct number?
So one of the things we're going to be addressing, obviously, is the fact that we're already at 374, and the whole year we have 452,000. So we're going to be addressing those issues.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Councilman
Yeah.
Kim.
I heard Ms. Hurtado's big concern about the police overtime. I am really big concerned about that too, because we're paying so much overtime and police overtime. Especially on November 26th, we went to up to the $99,000. So yes, I have a big concern. But the other way is I got my answer back myself. We have 6 officers as budgeted, we not hired yet. So we need to fulfill our officers' six positions as soon as possible. That our budget allowed to have six officers, we don't have it. So that's why we keep creating the overtime. And also, we have follows, I don't know how the kind of practice we have, the 10% of the police officers working, we pay by overtime. So we are creating overtime, our overtime by the administration, not by the police administrations. So we have to fulfill that necessary personnel to the police department, then we can see what is going on the overtime. I urge to fellow council members to see these issues with the providing 6 more officers permitting within the budget that will help the community, the better service, and also we are jeopardizing a lot of our public officers, police officers to danger, and they are, I think, overwhelming to their duties. So I believe the less taking care of the hire the personnel necessary first, then let's see how they're going down for the overtimes.
Thank you, Councilman Kim. Any other comment?
Yeah, I'd like to repeat what we've said, that I've said several times and consistently about overtime. This is not the first time we're facing overtime issues in this agency, and we can compare it to the fire department who worked on a plan, and I believe a plan was asked of the police department over 3 months ago, and I for one have not seen a plan. So I don't believe anybody is getting it here. The problem here is that there is no money. And to insist that we resolve the issue at this point with having more staff, that would be very bad management, because there hasn't been any skillful management at this point to try to reduce the overtime at all. So if there's going to be any decisions of hiring, I believe those decisions of hiring have to be after there's a fair review of the actual department and an analysis, number crunching. None of that has happened here. And I believe that we all expect that. All your other departments in this agency also expect that. Because you also have other agencies, like I mentioned earlier. We need parks. We need things in our parks for our children. And if there's not going to be any control or any responsibility by our department heads to control overtime, then in that case, then everyone's going to be able to do the same thing. Is not be a manager and a skillful manager, and not only just putting out your hand and saying you want more. We're asking, I believe it is fair, because we've asked that of every other department head, to look at your department, have an evaluation as we have asked in the past, and resolve it. We asked that of the fire department. I don't see why we're not asking that of this department as well. It's only fair, and it's only appropriate and a responsible way to govern this city, is not to find that the solution to overtime is bringing in more people just like that. You need to have an analysis of the department and understand it first. And this department was asked to do that a long time ago, and I don't understand why it hasn't happened yet. And that's why I mentioned earlier, I believe it's not going to be any of these individuals on this council to go to department heads and expect things from you. I think it's our manager that needs to work with you so that we can avoid micromanaging each department. But in this case, excuse me, in this case, I believe we're in a very severe abuse of overtime at this point. There are employees making over 100 hours of overtime in one work period, which is a 2-week period. And as I said before, that just doesn't seem even humanly possible. I don't see people sleeping if they're working 100 hours a week. That doesn't seem safe for your staff either. So something has to be reviewed in order to ensure that you're making good decisions.
Thank you,
Mr. Hodge.
Councilman Hurtado.
Mr. Hodge, can we ask the police chief here, since he's here, what's going on with the police?
No, in my case, I'm not really interested
Okay.
in hearing
Well,
from him. It's more our
interested.
manager.
I'm interested also because I think you have provided a
Like I
plan,
said, I
maybe
think
not.
I'm trying to
not
just
written.
avoid
Your comments
micromanaging.
are well taken, Councilwoman Hurtado.
So I've asked him before, and there
Okay.
really hasn't been answers, so.
But just out of fairness, I think you have a right to explain your situation,
Exactly.
Chief.
Well, actually, and for the benefit of the public, the police department is operating well under the approved budget by this council. If you look at the budget and midway's half-year budget, we're well under spending. Why? Because we're the salaries and benefits, we're $1 million below what you allocated for the budget, which happens to be those 6 positions that we're missing. Now, we're adjusting that budget. We're crunching numbers and being fiscally responsible by adding those, working that $1 million that we're saving on salaries and benefits to the manpower that we need to serve, as Mr. Moreno would make reference, the 40,000 people in Calexico. And that's the direction this council has given us. We've been working with the city manager, finances. The budget is balanced. We're working well under it. That's $1 million that we're saving by not filling those salaries and benefits, and we're applying it to the overtime. We haven't even getting to the overtime section, because in addition to that savings that we're using to operate the overtime or the services that we need for Calexico, we're adding federal grant money. So we haven't tapped into the overtime section, and the Calexico Police Department is working well within the budget and responsibly, and all those additional vacancies that we're saving money on would give us a better and fresher officers to serve the 40,000 people in Calexico and the other 40 that visit the Calexico area to safeguard their movement.
Okay.
Can I have a
Councilman
question?
Castro?
Yes, Chief, can you tell us how many months or how long that you and Mr. City Manager been talking about this issue?
From the onset, from the beginning, we've been working on it, and to be honest, we have done the service. We provided the service for Calexico, which is the most important part, safeguarding the lives of the people in Calexico and their well-being. How we manage the monies, how we crunch the monies has been under the approval of the city manager and the finance director, again, within budget. If you look at your budget and review it up to the midpoint, which is December 6 months, we have spent an average of $500,000 in overtime. As Ms. Hurtado made reference to, we only have another $500,000. That's scheduled, and that was, you allowed it, you approved that budget to be spent at the police department. That's exactly how much we're going to use. Another $500,000 that was allocated to the budget of the Calexico Police Department. Otherwise, we would have filled those positions and no overtime would be costing us. But we haven't got into the overtime yet. We haven't spent $1 in overtime. If you look at your budget, what you approved, the allocations you made, we're within the budget. Numbers are crunched and it has been reviewed and approved by the finance director and the city manager.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to add,
Go right ahead.
I'm very confused because the information that I received directly from administration is very different. But I don't believe that it's worthwhile to have these discussions at this point, other than asking that there be a review, an analysis.
Well, and that's what we intend to do. You know, it's hard to get up here and when we don't have documentation and so on, and so you could talk all day and some people will have different views. That's why certainly, with all due respect, would request that you leave it up to us. That's why we're having those meetings.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem?
No, I think everybody said.
Yeah, I think it's been said, and the only thing is, just want to reiterate that public safety is extremely important, and so I think it is important. There are other options, but I think it's very important that your department is adequately staffed. So, and we will leave it up to you, City Manager, where it belongs. Okay, then let's move on. That's an acknowledgement of our overtime. And item number 12, it is recommended that the City Council receive and file the business license delinquency report for the month of November 2013. So this is just a recommendation on our part to receive and file that. Is that acknowledged, or is there any concerns? Council members? All right, Councilwoman Hurtado. I don't have any concerns. Anybody else? No. Okay, very good. So that leads us to future agenda items. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And so we can start with Councilwoman Hurtado. Would you like to begin? Okay.
Actually, what I was a little frustrated about, as you know, is that we had cut off some of the meetings a little early, and I wasn't able to get in some of my interests in moving forward some items and some concerns. But what I've done, I do have some concerns with regard to business development here in the city of Calexico, and the review of our fees, the fees that we charge in order for new businesses or new development to come to the city. And this comes to mind because of the fact that since we've brought in now such a huge project, the outlet center, it's obviously going to be bringing in other businesses that are going to tag along now that this business has been successful and is doing so well. And also because I do run a business and I do talk to clients who do want to start businesses, do different developments and things like that for their own. So the review of fees has been on my mind for quite a while. I did talk to Oscar about this, though, and I don't see it necessarily as a future agenda item. I just want to make sure that I mentioned it and that I did talk to Oscar about it in my review with him, and he will be working on at least some initial steps to take a look at our Maximus study, because that Maximus study established fees way back, I think it was 2006 or 2007. So it's very much due an overhaul, most likely. That is one. The other is that within the city of Calexico, I do note that there is quite a bit of abuse out there as far as heavy vehicles within the city of Calexico. And we know that there already is heavy traffic coming through the city of Calexico, but the heavy vehicles, specifically the semi-trucks and vehicles such as that put a burden on our streets. And to take a look at maybe in the future what are our restrictions within the city for heavy vehicles, being that we are at a border. I know they have to come through here, but I just saw a heavy vehicle on Meadows Road. So, yeah, so that was weird. So anyhow, so I thought maybe we would maybe want to talk about that a little eventually. So those are the two items, because we only have two, right?
If I may piggyback on Ms. Hurtado, I think planning should look at enforcing that truck route. I believe we do have a truck route within the city.
Mm-hmm. We need to probably just learn about that and...
And I think planning, falls under their umbrella. Okay. Thank you.
I would like to, I think these are two very good future agenda items. In fact, they have been on my mind. Impact fees. I'll just say it right out. You can try to convince me otherwise, but I think compared to other cities, we're pretty high. I'd like to see if it's possible to lower them as an incentive for future businesses. And I know Benjamin Horton has done a study. We might be able to use that along with us also with other future review. And also, I've thought about this when I had some teachers bringing up about the semi-trucks, and to even move forward more on that, to maybe think about rerouting or not allowing certain roads if that's possible, because some of those roads, City Manager, are in deplorable shape, and if my conclusion is right, it's because of a lot of the trucks. But anyway, I think those are two good future agenda items. Councilman Castro.
Well, yes, I would like to have how to call a full report, or a report from Nick Servin or Mr. City Manager, because I called you last Monday, you didn't answer the phone, And my call was to ask you, how come and why the city of Calexico continue with the alleys like from first to second on the alley in front of the
First.
From first to second, the alley in the middle.
Oh, the alley?
Yes, I'm talking about the alley.
Okay.
On Monday, that all the alley and from Heffernan to Rockwood was looking like a junk. Still, the city of Calexico looks like a junk. I don't know why. There's no personnel, there's no director, there's no city staff can look at those issues. Also, on Emerson and Third, it looks like a junk in the corner. Why people call me concerned about these issues? We don't have no directors, no administration. What's going on here? You know, a lot of people come to this chamber and tell us what to do. And they tell us the city of Calexico looks like a dump. And that is true. Why? The administration, can you tell me why it looks like that downtown area?
You don't need to yell. I understand your concern, but kind of lower.
I'm
Okay.
upset
No, I-
because the people call me. Hey,
I can,
let me finish.
but don't
I'm
yell,
kinda upset
Castro.
because the people call me.
Same here.
And it's the same issue almost all the year.
But there's no need to really yell. We hear that. City manager.
I know that, okay, I'll let you address it,
I understand your
Nick, but the other
concern,
thing
Councilman
is,
Castro.
I don't know if you had a chance to talk to your staff, but I remember that we had a conversation in that, and I believe that code enforcement was out there because we received the same call, and we sent code enforcement out there because there's responsibilities also on the business owners. It's not all of it's not the city's responsibility. So we have code enforcement for that, but I'll let the Public Works Director address it because I personally remember that we sent code enforcement out there.
Go ahead.
Mr. Castro, yes, we got those complaints too, and you know, it's a mutual effort. Yes?
No.
Oh,
Go ahead.
okay. It's a mutual effort by city staff, the business owners, and of course, we have Allied who picks up the trash, and then we have Advance who actually cleans up the alleys. But if people are not folding the cardboard and putting in the appropriate containers, then it takes up a lot of room in the regular bin. When that room is consumed, because you have big boxes there, then it spills over. And sometimes what happens, especially in this time of the season, because there's a lot of boxes that are being undone, we have to send code enforcement out there and remind the business owners that they need to clean up their side. Bottom line.
I'm sorry, what's the last word?
The bottom line.
Bottom line?
Yeah.
The-
It's
But you gave me supposedly the solution, but guess what? The city of Calexico is still the same, so there's no solution. What you told me is not the solution.
yes, but other months it's not as bad.
You and your staff need to work. That's my point.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilman, Mayor Pro Tem.
I believe Mr. Castro's abrasive.
Well, I understand
way
he has a very go ahead.
It's counterproductive. It's counterproductive to city staff. I understand. I had relatives come into town. They cruised around. They showed me pictures of that particular alley that Mr. Castro was talking about on Sunday afternoon. And it is a partnership. It is not only the city's responsibility. It's the responsibility of the merchants. It's the responsibility of them to work on cleaning up this community. And you're exactly right, Mr. Servin. When boxes aren't broken down, they take up a lot more space. So I feel Mr. Castro should just try to work with our staff rather than get too emotional. We need to remove the emotion from the situation because, you know, with all this emotion, it's not going to solve anything. But yes, this is a time of year where this has happened. And so breaking down the boxes from the merchants must be a requirement. We've seen them broken down, we've seen them against the pillars along the street. But I saw that picture. I concur with Mr. Castro, but I'm in disagreement with the way he approached the particular item. I would like to, on another note, for a future agenda item, I know that we have bonded some monies, and I'm particularly interested, Mr. City Manager, in the plan for our parks. Preliminary or specific, I'd like to see how we're progressing in that respect.
Well, as you know, you just approved it, and so what's happening is that we hope to price the issue by Thursday, which means we take it into the market and get buyers, and we price it, and at that point, we know what the interest rate is and so on, which we couldn't tell you before because we hadn't priced.
Okay.
And then we're looking to actually sell the beginning of next year. While that's going on, recreation, our plan would be that we have the Recreation Department, Parks and Recreation, be involved through their committees, through their commissions. And as you know, we already have an actual plan that we brought to council at one point where we had 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years,
That's correct.
5 and over. So we're going to bring that document back because before we didn't have the funding. Now we have some, we will have some funding. Bring that back to all the parties to have them buy in, along with the commissions that were involved in putting that plan together, and say basically, you know, hey, does this still make sense? Do we still believe that these are items that we should be addressing now that we do have the money? And try to have buy-in from those commissions who originally put it together, and then maybe even go as far as maybe having a public hearing to say these are the plans that we have. There's a community think that that's where we should go.
And I think once all that is finalized, I think we should post it on our city's website. We should post it at some of the major parks where the people gather so that they are aware of
What's in
what the
progress.
progress and what some of the projects
Good
are
idea.
in line. That's all I have, Mr.
That's a very
Mayor.
good idea, Mayor Pro Tem, and I'd like to comment on that and then refer to Councilman Castro. But I'm a little not so sure about this, but I was told by a concerned citizen, correct me if I'm wrong, this year, last year, there was approved like over $100,000, part of that plan for parks, and I was told that the individual was very disappointed that it was spent, and he was asking me, well, what do we have to show for it? But I may be incorrect on this
There was
point.
some money approved by Measure H to
Yes.
specifically address year 1 to 3. The short term, I think it was 1 to 3 or just 1, I don't recall. Sandra already left. But in that plan, I believe there was, if I remember correctly, there was an immediate need, and that's what the $100,000 was supposed to be used for.
And what was it spent
and
for?
That was like planting grass and fixing the irrigation systems.
Did we do that?
You know, minor things. I know she's been working on it. Unfortunately, she was here until just
In
a
other
minute
words,
ago.
their complaint is there was money, we've been told it's been spent, but what do we have to show for it?
Well, we can certainly give you a report what it was spent for. A lot of those are difficult because they're small items, they're irrigation systems, they're piping, they're grass. So a lot of these things people don't really see. They're not big ticket items. When we get into the big ticket items, for example, if we get into renovating Rodriguez Field, let's say, and we decide that the committee and the public decides we should make it a flagship for us, and we decide we're going to buy a new scoreboard that people are really going to remember, you know, and pay some good money for it, they'll remember those things. They're not going to remember your sprinklers
put
that
seed.
you put in and that kind of stuff. So,
Okay,
But
but
we
I
can
think
get you a
we owe it
report.
to the public to let them know that that money was, we had it and it was spent, and where was
what?
it spent?
okay, we can get you a report.
I really do. Now, my concern is, I understand Councilman Castro, he got emotional, and there's no need to, but I also understand his reason for being emotional, because it is extremely frustrating, and we all need to take responsibility, and I know our staff works very hard, but see, this is my mindset. If other cities under economic conditions, harsh economic conditions, and they do vary, but still, if they can maintain the basic amenities, I mean the basics, that we don't seem to do, It's extremely frustrating. And I need to be critical here. I just hear excuses why it's not done. And I think the frustration is, let's just get it done. Let's just get the certain things. I mean, all parks should be clean. That's a given. We should do whatever we can. I mean, there should be no excuse for that as a city, or the alleys. No excuse. I mean, I don't want to hear it's their fault. I mean, I know it's a partnership, but ultimately, I think it's our city's responsibility to make sure we do it. And the end result is we have a lot of areas in our city compared to other cities, and I'll be frank, I haven't made a specific patrol, but I'm taking a guess that we have a lot of areas that are more dirtier than other cities, and I'm shameful of that, and I don't know what to answer to the public, because over and over again we don't get it done. Now on that, and I'm not trying to blame the staff. I just think there are basic things in our city that should be a priority, and really, even under what conditions, they should be taken care of, like our alleys are cleaned. And here's another area that I keep getting complaints. And why don't we do something, have a plan? Our park bathrooms, city manager, various ones. Now, I'll be honest, I haven't taken a personal inspection. I'm getting this from the public, but the one across from the police department, they don't even want to go in there. Can we just, is that?
Well, I think that one of the things, and we can certainly provide you with a report, but I can tell you that it all depends a lot of times what are the priorities. And I don't want to sit here and tell you why we're not doing it, but for example, and I know maybe people don't want to hear this, but in Brawley, parks is a priority. It is #1 on their list. I know their budget. I know what they spend on their budget. They spend a lot more than we do.
Okay.
If that's what we want to do and we want to cut somewhere else, then let's say that. When we come to budget time, say, cut it out over here and put it into parks. We only have so much personnel and we only have so much money. And we cannot create money. We cannot create personnel. And I don't want to give you excuses, but it's a reality. And I'm going to refer to the Public Works Director, because I know we've been trying to do something with the restroom there at the border, but the usage on it is just tremendous. You want to address that?
I don't, this is future agenda items.
I'm sorry.
So if we get into the discussion
Yeah,
of
you're right.
parks and restrooms and all these things,
You're
it's not
correct.
on the agenda.
City
This is
Attorney.
for you to give direction
Sorry,
to
it's
the
just
city
very
manager.
frustrating, but
I understand.
you are
But-
correct. So we'll put it into this, but can we have a public, no, right? Yes?
Well, future agenda items isn't
It's
public.
not. I'm
so
sorry,
it's-
Iris. I'm sorry. Okay. Apologies. I didn't yell, but I feel the frustration too. Clxc, we're working hard. And you know what, City Manager, we need to come together in planning and have these goals. And now you got me thinking, well, if parks, I mean, I know we all say that it's important, but then can you reflect to us then what message are we giving you as what is the priority?
Mayor, again,
oh, I'm
this
sorry.
isn't
Okay.
for council
Deep,
goals
deep,
or
deep, deep.
priorities.
Okay, all right.
We need to put it on a future agenda.
We will
it on
address
the
that in
agenda.
our retreat.
Right,
How's
because
that?
if we get into a
Let's
discussion,
work
we
on the
haven't told the
retreat.
public
Sorry.
that we're discussing
Frustration.
this.
Okay, no further, did I miss anybody?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Councilman Kim, go right ahead.
Well, I think so my fellow councilmen, they might remember when we have a presentation from the park to repair, from the Sandra Towler.
Yes, sir.
From the staff. I think I request the middle of the January, with the meeting, I want to have progress report. I already requested that time. So I believe January 21st report, I'd like to have, for the 21st meeting, I'd like to have the parks repair report and the plan. And the other one is annexation is supposedly bloated, they never come.
That's right.
So I'd like to that one for the annexation too on the January 21st. I think I was going to give them some little relaxing, but there is a lot of homework not been done. So I'd like to have the reminding of those two items supposed to be bring back on the January 21st meeting, annexation issues and the parks and repair report.
Okay.
And also I have a little comment. I think the street. I've been myself. I had the store in downtown. in a way, the city and the beat has to be working on it, especially in the morning. Lots of people they left the trash. Even the resident people or some people they leave the trash back out of the place. So I believe the early morning, probably city and the beat together, they have some plan to clean up. So during the day or by the merchants, probably merchant has to be cooperate with that one. But even merchant they clean up. Every morning, sometimes they throw something there. So I think that one has to be working out with the beat and the city together to clean up the city. Especially when the people pass through in the morning, it's the dirty street, it doesn't have a
All
good
right.
feeling.
We need to focus on, we got off, but
Yeah.
now, remember, Councilman Kim, only
Yes,
two, we don't
I
want
will
to
done.
overburn. Okay, and those are good, and I agree with you that the annexation was kind of forgotten, or, anyway, all right then, sir, you're done, and...
Yeah, talk to those two issues. that
Those
we
are
need to
two,
bring
yes.
there.
Okay, I just want to note, and we're going to finish, that I have called for a meeting to really begin to focus on downtown. If we can do Grand Plaza, we can really do something substantial about downtown, and I've invited certain stakeholders, city managers coordinating that, and at this point, no disrespect, Mayor Pro Tem, but you're very upset. I'd like to invite you to that meeting. Okay? So maybe we can, it's an ongoing problem, and I understand, guys, that you got your hands filled, but we can still continue to put our heads together and work on it. So thank you very much, and a Merry Christmas to all of you. Do we have to make a motion to adjourn?
Just say record time.
Okay, record time, ladies and gentlemen.